DoxTalks, this time about soccer in the United States of America. I'm your host, Jack Doxy. This time we will be chronicling the rise of the U.S. men's national team and how it can continue to improve on that success in the future and what that will require. I have opinions, so do many long-time supporters and figures in Bay Area soccer. So I invite you to watch and enjoy the show. Anyway, so there is little questioning that soccer or football, as it's widely known throughout the world, has definitely experienced a blossoming in the United States, especially when contrasted, with say half a century ago. In the late '60s, there were only roughly 100,000 players of the sport out of a population at that time approaching 300 million, and that it was primarily confined to those who had either recently immigrated to the United States from soccer-playing nations in Latin America or Europe, or the children of those immigrants. Now you have over 20 million participating in the sport and many more watching on TV, observing leagues as diverse as those in Mexico, Portugal, England, and the United States. I think this attests to a shift not just in our sporting preferences, but in our mindsets. We have become a more globally minded nation, which I am quite pleased about. But I won't delve into too much detail about that right now. Anyway, so the real catalyst for all of this, expansion of soccer interest was the 1994 FIFA World Cup hosted in the United States, 10 or 12 cities, that were scattered across the country. And of course, if you don't know the World Cup, I'd ask if you are sane or not first. But it is the largest sporting event and most impassioned sporting event in the world. Not really rivaled by the Olympics, I don't believe. It doesn't arouse the same sentiments that the World Cup does, and some of those are detrimental. I believe they can be, there can be nationalist views expressed, but in a positive way. It's the only time that that nationalism seems appropriate for a wide audience. Anyway, one of the conditions of the U.S. hosting the '94 World Cup was that they had to establish a top-flight Premier soccer league, which came to fruition in 1996 when the then 10-team MLS or Major League Soccer was instituted. If you just take those stats alone, it really is staggering how much soccer has grown in North America. You see, you had 10 teams back then. Now you have 20, and the league continues to expand. Not only that, the MLS is outdrawing both the NBA and NHL in terms of average game attendance. However, we will delve into that in our next segment. You may think that, okay, well, all this increased participation is great, but so has the United States experienced continued success on the international stage? Well, in short, again, contrasted with the 1960s, say, yes. In 1990, they qualified for the first World Cup, in in 4 decades, and since then they have made it to the premier event in international soccer for every single time. So again, there are positive signs. However, in the 32-team competition, in these last 7 World Cups, they have not proceeded past the quarterfinals. And that may be a rather alarming fact when you consider that the United States has a large talent pool, seemingly available, 25 million players. And again, the women's team has been quite good. But right now we're going to review, we're going to look at some of the the impediments to continued success of the U.S. men's national team. But I certainly have opinions. However, I will present them at the end of this segment. But right now, we're going to cut to interviews with several Bay Area soccer figures, starting with the Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the San Jose Earthquakes in the MLS, Jed Meddy. And here's what he had to say. think it'll take for the U.S. men's national team to reach that same level as the women's national team and get up there with the likes of Brazil and Germany as one of the top teams in the world? Will it take more kids, that could go to other sports coming to soccer, broadening the talent pool that's available?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that go into making a successful national team. 2002, the U.S. went to the quarterfinals. They outplayed Germany by many accounts in the quarterfinals. Could have gone to the semifinals that year, would have been one of the top 4 teams. But then, the next World Cup, they didn't advance from group play.
Right.
In this past World Cup, Spain didn't advance from group play after they'd won the World Cup the previous time. So it's hard to judge just on those factors, but you can see that the U.S. is a bigger talent pool now than ever. There's more players that have the possibility of playing in the national team and playing internationally than they've ever had. I think if that continues to grow, it's hard to say we'd be alongside Brazil in the near future. They've had so many years of being a top tier country, and everyone there plays only soccer. We have a lot of competing sports here. So I think every year the talent pool gets stronger in the U.S. I think we just need to continue to work hard, promote the sport, and over time, hopefully we catch up to some of the other countries.
The majority of those that I interviewed, or a multitude of them anyway, is that we will need that the United States needs to expand the talent pool that is available to them in order to reach that elite level on par with a Brazil or a Germany. But how exactly can that be accomplished? Well, I received some thoughts from Michele Martinesi. He is a native-born Italian, actually, from the area around Napoli in the south of the country. And he is currently a professor of Italian and Spanish at the College of Marin. He's also been observing soccer for quite a while. So here's what he had to say. All right, so we're here with Michele. He is a Italian, he is a soccer fan, and are you a soccer player?
I used to be, because in Italy is the main game
Right.
that we play when we grow up. So up until I was close to 20, that was when I came to the States. I was playing soccer all the time. So
What do you think it'll take for the U.S. men's national team to become one of the best, one of the best sides out there that's competing for World Cup titles, along with Italy and Brazil and Germany?
other countries, yeah. What's gonna take is practice. These countries, like you mentioned, Brazil, Italy, Germany, they've been playing soccer for much longer
Right.
than it's been happening in the States. We can tell that in United States, soccer has become more popular in the last 15 to 20 years, I would say. Therefore, you would need a couple of generations of players in order to create a solid US team. Right now they're competitive, but they haven't had what the European teams have had, and that is the background and the history and the experience playing the game. So the more experience they gain, the better they get at it.
In these top soccer nations, all of the youth in the countries aspire to play soccer at that top level. It's much different here, where you have the competing sports such as basketball and football, etc. They attract more glory in this country than soccer. So that points to a cultural problem, and it's exactly this, that unfortunately soccer in this country seems to be in some ways restricted to two demographics. One, you have those who have immigrated to this country fairly recently from, say, Latin America or Europe, or their kids who, absorb that sphere of influence and continue to play the sport, or these, fairly well-to-do kids, typically in, nice suburbs, such as where I reside in Mill Valley. There is a thriving youth soccer scene. And it's no, it's no surprise then that the majority of American soccer players are derived from that demographic. As opposed to nations such as say England, where a large portion of professional soccer players are come from the working classes or inner city neighborhoods that right now are not afforded access to soccer, quality soccer coaching and equipment. We had an opportunity to speak to Rovell Steve Sparks. He's a native of Jamaica, and he runs a free youth soccer summer camp program in the East Bay. And here's what he had to say about this. So, do you think reaching out to kids in maybe like lower income areas who perhaps see like that when they get to high school they don't have those same opportunities in soccer as they might in other sports? So do you think increasing the opportunities for these kids who are at somewhat of a financial disadvantage will help out?
Yeah, I think that would be a great help in regards to making it more affordable. When you look at the club level of soccer, it's extremely expensive. So if you have one kid who's playing, it's expensive. If you have two kids who are playing at club level, it's extremely expensive. And worse if they're on a select team. The select team with the traveling and what it entails for parents' involvement and from an economical standpoint, it's so almost unattainable for a kid, even the middle-class kid living in this country right now. And so that's some of the things we have to address if we want the sport to go to the next level, is to make it more affordable for kids and parents at a lower income level, to get them involved and not make it so unaffordable. And I think that's one of the things that we definitely have to address, is the economic part of it.
To ensure that after leaving the camp, kids continue to play soccer?
I mean, the whole idea is to target teachers in the inner city community and get them on board in order to get some of the kids sign up, because it's a free camp. But we definitely need to get them to sign up. And so you target teachers in the inner city. How a camp is not just for all low income. A camp is full diversity camp. So we have kids from all different levels and all different backgrounds. We have up to, I'm sure, about 13 to 15 different zip code represented at the camp. And so one of the things we do is work with East Bay Soccer, which is the Bay Oaks. We work with them in order to give scholarship to kids who want to continue playing. Some of the kids might not be exceptional, but they want to continue playing. So we work with them to give out scholarship. And so that's what we do in a program I'm involved with.
Next, we'll go to two other interviews. First with Jason Ewing. He is a youth soccer supporter primarily in the East Bay, and he also competes with the Afrikari Lions in the East Bay Senior Soccer League. Then we'll go to Matt McPhee. Subsequent to that, he's employed as a realtor with Decker Bullock Sotheby's in Marin, and he's been watching soccer for decades. So we're going to get both of their takes on this. What do you think it will take for soccer to become one of the most popular sports in the United States?
It's becoming one. It's definitely risen since I started playing about your age.
Yeah.
But competing with American football and American basketball and baseball, it's difficult losing athletes to them, the bigger, faster, stronger athletes to them. But I think we're gaining strides with what we're doing.
So do you think outreach into like lower income neighborhoods or those that are financially disadvantaged, areas that right now don't have much of a focus on soccer, will really benefit the national team?
Putting money into those to come up with some structures and facilities for them to play in, absolutely. Our club, Ballistic, offers scholarships for players who can't meet the financial needs because it's an expensive sport.
Right.
Especially when you play at that high level. But yeah, the lower income, definitely. I think they're starting to filter in as well.
I was a baseball and basketball guy. I was too small for football. And my dad kind of pushed me along. I was kind of fast, I was really small, and I could kick a ball. And so first year, I scored a lot of goals, and it was a lot of fun, and it just kind of stuck with me ever since.
Okay. Soccer is kind of it's been labeled as a suburban rich person sport.
Yep.
And there are some organizations that are trying to increase participation in disadvantaged neighborhoods. Do you think broadening the talent pool that way will increase the success of the U.S. men's national team or the MLS?
I think that any way you can increase participation is going to help the U.S. national team, the MLS, in all aspects of American soccer. It's a challenge now. What's happened is the training and the programs that I would say the upper middle class or the ones who have the financial capacity to be able to help their kids through a much more intense development process at an earlier age is going to help them. I think that are the kids in lower income areas at a disadvantage? Potentially, yes. So how is that disparity going to increase? I mean, is going to decrease? Excuse me. That's kind of a tough one. But yes, in answer to your question, I believe that the more kids that can participate at a younger level and get hopefully better training and better exposure to the game is only going to help both MLS and the U.S. national team.
Well, we'll go back to Jed from the San Jose Earthquakes now, and followed by Steve, who will speak about how promising youth soccer players can transfer their skills to the next level via high school and college programs. And is that going to involve a lot of outreach to lower income youth? Do you think that could be a big part of it? People, African Americans, people living in the inner city, that maybe don't see soccer as an option right now, and have the Earthquakes made any outreach efforts to reach those kind of people?
I think there's a lot of great things going on right now in promoting the sport of soccer. Last week we were in Palo Alto with the U.S. Soccer Foundation. They're trying to do a project to build 1,000 mini pitches around the country, which are small-sided, futsal-sized fields that are accessible to everybody. It doesn't matter your economic background, your socioeconomic background at all. They can put down in locations at a Boys and Girls Club, at a YMCA, in a park, and people can just play there and develop their skills in a fun atmosphere. The other great thing going on right now is all the MLS teams have youth academies, right, which are free to play. The Earthquakes have under 18, under 16, under 14, and we're going to add under 13 and under 12 very soon, in which the players pay nothing. They just play. So it doesn't matter, again, your background, how much money you have, that kind of stuff. It's not pay to play. It's the best players get to play for free. So things like that happen in every single MLS city around the country. I guess create more opportunities for everybody. So I think those are great things that are happening right now in the sport of soccer that make it more accessible to everybody. And also, soccer is the easiest game to play. All you need is a ball and some friends, and anything will do. You can play on concrete field, you can play on grass field, dirt field, doesn't matter. So I think as kids play more and more just for fun, their skills will develop.
It's the #1 sport played by kids now in the United States. But once they get to about the 8th grade, 9th grade, start falling off. Once they get to high school, right, the popularity starts falling off. So they go play baseball, they go play basketball, they go play football, because it's also more the in sport in high school. So the high school level of the sport going to have to develop.
There seems to be a consensus among those that I spoke to that having the supposed elite American players remain in Europe will be a vital asset for the U.S. men's national team. As this will provide exposure to the top competition week in and week out. And you may say, well, why is that necessary? Well, I think it's evidenced by a nation like, say, Brazil or Uruguay in South America. Now, they don't have elite leagues in their home nations themselves, but the majority of their top players ply their trade over in Europe. Which as a result, they are reaching the quarterfinals or better in most World Cups, and elite competitions. It is absolutely vital that more of these players head over to Europe and remain there as well. We're going to go to Matt and Michele. They will be providing their opinions on this now. Getting that top level of play, that they had over, say, in Italy or England. I'm talking about guys like Michael Bradley or
Dempsey, for sure. Yeah, I think that I think it's a mistake. I do. I think that the way players to compete on an international level, you have to go to where the best competition is. And I'm sure that they enjoy the fact that they can come back to the States and they will be a premier player over here, and they will get exposure and a lot of love being in their home country and playing for teams, and versus being maybe not as a premier player over there and really having to grind and work for a little bit more exposure. But as a player, to develop, the bottom line is you have to go to where the best competition is. And I truly believe it is a detriment to the U.S. national team. And I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been more feedback, at least publicly, about why they've come back over here. As a final note on this, I think that there's a lot of pressure probably put on these players to come back and play in the MLS, to help develop the MLS, to help develop the game in the country. But as far as the U.S. competing on an international level, I think it's a mistake.
And what's happening right now with the bigger sports, basketball, baseball, American football, students are given the opportunity, even in lower income area, via scholarships, to be able to pursue their sport dreams. If that happens with soccer as well, then you're going to be able to, like you mentioned before, America is a big country, you're going to be able to get a bigger pool of people where you can select good players. Messi was from Argentina, he's from Argentina and he's playing in Europe. You can have your own Messi right here. You can have a bunch of Lionel Messi, because you just have to find them. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure the talent is there. However, by offering a student scholarship, just like you do for the other sports, you'll be able to attract a bigger pool of players.
Right. Most people that I spoke to believe that it's vital that the strength of the MLS be increased as well, and we will be touching on that in our next segment. So stay tuned because we will be bringing that to you. This is Jack Doxy signing off. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next segment of the DoxTalks.